Yo, yo, get up, nah I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Keep it moving. Pew, 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 pew. We're excited. We listen. We have Jim Miller in the freaking building. Okay, he just got off of moving the chains with Pat Kerwin. He just pounded out a big workout. He had a nice meal. He's ready for us. He's ready to go. We've got some breaking news from Chicago Sports Podcast headquarters, and we have just extended our show up at Wind Creek Casino for another. And Jim called it, man. He speaks it into existence. He said, "Listen, Trax, these Bears are on fire. They're going to want some more in the building." And there was plenty of action, plenty of excitement, a lot of things going on. Why wouldn't you want to have another show? Two, three, or four, okay? Three or four. But, and then extend it into the playoffs, because playoffs, that's what we're talking about. I mean, it is electric. There's a lot of things going on, and none better than to have Jim Miller and my boy D Nice in the building. How you guys doing, man?
Great, man. Good to be with you guys again.
Yeah, you too. So really quickly, like, we want to talk about what got, to stay on topic. We want to talk about, boys, what got us here. How are we? How are we in not just the NFC North and never give it back, but the NFC, the number one seed? What got us here? Let me start this off with Jim Miller. Jim, what do you think?
Well, I think I just think Ben Johnson's going about this the right way, and how you support a young quarterback in Caleb and bring him along. Because, when he made the statement about, hey, we're winning despite our lack of passing attack. And he's right, because there's so many areas where Caleb's going to get better, but you got to support a young quarterback. And they've done it with the run game. They've done it now with the solidified offensive line, and these were all decisions that were made in the offseason. Hey, you pay Drew Dahlman, you bring in Tooney, you bring Jonah Jackson in. You got to figure out your left tackle spot. Darnell Wright was a little banged up. He's got to heal up. But it's through a running game. They're second overall in the National Football League there. And defensively, well, I will say this about offense, despite their passing game, which will get better. I'm telling you, it will get better. And Caleb's really close to having some really big games, in my opinion. But they've got the fewest turnovers offensively. And then, of course, the feel-good story is the defense. Dennis Allen, they lead the league in takeaways. The Bears have the most points off of turnovers. They've got 80 points. So you turn the ball over and you take advantage of those offensive possessions, and you're turning the clock, running the football. It's been a thing of beauty to watch, and trust me, it's going to get better offensively. Caleb hasn't even scratched the surface of how good he's going to be. It's going to be a good time in Chicago.
And now, we turn it over to D Nice, and D Nice, you and I got one thing in common, with Jim Miller. We've we're Bears fans, but the one thing you and I have in common, if we've never played in the NFL. So
There you go.
and here's the deal. Here's the deal. I would say, like, where are we at with all this? Because, like, we are bigger than the sum of our parts, and the quarterback isn't even the number one piece. Like, seriously. And there are positions that scared us. First, listen, boys. Okay, you listen to me. I'm here at Alice Hall. You can see it in the background in my virtual studio. No, I mean, like, I don't understand this. Like, first, we didn't have any running backs. We were worried, like, is DJ Moore going to play running back? What are we going to do? Is Caleb going to get the ball a lot? Are we going to see the backup Bajan? Is he going to start? Because like, we didn't know. We're homers, we're super meatball fans, whatever. And then we didn't have any defensive backs, and then the defensive backs stepped up, and when we signed a guy that popped one of our receivers in the mouth, and all of a sudden we're courting with them, and we're like, forget that guy. We really like CJ. Maybe he deserved to get popped in the mouth. We love you, CJ. You're doing great. Now all of a sudden we're CJ fans, and we forget that receiver, right? But
Yeah.
and then now we didn't have any linebackers, and now, according to Jim Miller's show, which I get a lot of the info from, it sounds like we have potentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, but two linebackers out of three starting against the Green Bay Packers. Like, what do you think is the biggest thing that's going on that's getting us through all this tumultuous waters?
Well, listen, man, I'm gonna tell you, like, what a lot of what Jim, like, most of what Jim said was correct. So I'm gonna go another direction. Jim has covered all this side. I'm gonna go in this direction. I
Please.
think the intangible things, the substance. Yeah, Ben came in. We can talk about Ben. We can talk about Caleb. We can talk about all the other great coaches that we have there in the building now. But we have to talk about the buy-in, because coaching is one thing and the buy-in is a whole nother thing.
So,
Because you
so when you say buy-in, are you
Mhm.
thinking, are you talking about like the players? The players got to buy in. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely,
So the players
absolutely,
have a responsibility. The coaches have to coach, but the players still got to buy in. The players still got to play. I
yes,
wonder
sir.
where I've heard that before, Jim. I wonder what show I've heard that before. But yeah, go ahead, man. I'm excited
Yes,
because this sounds good.
yeah, the buy-in is just as critical as the coaching, because we see in other on other teams and other franchises that they're pretty damn good coaches over there, but players are not responding. So the substance, the buy-in, and also you sprinkle that with a little bit of luck, man. We got to give a shout out to the Carolina Panthers, man. They continue to help us, you know what I'm saying, on this journey to the top. You know what I'm saying? We have to give them a lot of
Yeah.
credit because you know.
Not only through the whole more deal, but even still yet during
Yeah,
the games that we're playing. It's crazy how it
yeah.
all works out. Like, who would have, you couldn't dream this up, you couldn't draw this up, right?
Look, Carolina has became the gift that keeps on giving. You know, and I want to get us another special shout out to Lovey Smith. Lovey Smith was the catalyst. Carolina helped us out, but those are the things that I look into outside of the guys on the field. And I have to give a lot of props to Ryan Poles. This offseason, people wanted Ryan Poles' head, and he kept things cool. He stuck to himself. He didn't get desperate and start making all these crazy moves. He stuck to his guns. He's sticking with the plan that he has in place to take the North and never give it back. And now we see it coming to fruition.
But now, do you think that because of maybe DA and because and then, hey, D Nice, thank you so much for chiming in because there's a lot of things in there that we have to unpack. But I will turn this over to Jim. Do you
Mhm.
think that because he has people in there that have the knowledge that can help share all of that, and he's just not referencing off of himself with Da and Ben Johnson, like he can actually listen by committee and do a better job of being that of being that general manager that he wasn't able to do initially. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think Ryan Poles has been pretty open about there were mistakes made when they brought in Shane Waldron.
Oh
He's
God.
and I talked to Ryan Poles at last year or the last year's combine, and he said, yeah, the steps were missed in order to support. That's the word I use: support a young quarterback. Because
Mhm.
here Caleb's going into his rookie year starting with Shane Waldron, who didn't last 9 weeks because there was no plan. There was no plan. It's just like, oh, well, I'm going to run this style of offense. Here's the difference. When Ben Johnson came in, he said no right away. Caleb will be under center more. We are going to run the football, and we are going to be a good play action team. He made no bones about it of what he was going to do offensively because he knows how to support a young quarterback. It's through running the football. You got to run the football because then the play action off of it, it opens up the windows a lot more. The windows become bigger to throw into because there's a conflict of interest. Linebackers are biting up on the run, so the in cut behind it, that window opens up a lot bigger, for example. So there was a definite plan by and not only that, it helps Ryan Poles make his decisions. So, all right, hey, coach, we're gonna, you said you want to run the football. What type of offensive lineman do we need? What type of run game are we talking about? Are we talking about power runs? Are we going to be a finesse running team? Well, he already knows. We already knew what he did up in Detroit, right? He had a dynamic player in Jameer Gibbs who plays in space, and he had a bruiser. Bears know him well, and that's Montgomery. That's why they call him Sonic and Knuckles, right? Montgomery, did you see him against Dallas? How about that big bruising run up the middle for a touchdown? I always liked David Montgomery. That guy, I thought the Bears never should have gotten rid of him. I would have paid him, and he's had nothing but success up there. So he's the bruiser, and then they got Jameer Gibbs, and that's kind of what the Bears have now. They had a plan. Offensive lineman, yeah, we want rugged, tough guys. They picked up Jonah Jackson, who went to the Pro Bowl with Ben Johnson in Detroit. That was Jonah's best year in the
Fight on,
NFL.
baby. Fight
Yeah,
on. USC. USC.
yeah,
Sorry. I had
yeah.
to
They
shoot that
they
plug in
paid,
there.
yeah, they paid Drew Dahlman, and then of course brought in Joe Tooney. They didn't have enough to go out and get a tackle, so you got a choice: either you draft a tackle or you feel good with where you're at. They drafted Ozzie Sapillo, right? So they drafted a tackle. Ended up being Theo Benedict emerged to be the guy. Um, so there was definitely a plan in place, and Ryan Poles said, "Okay, this is what the coach needs. I'm going to go get it." He was clear and concise. This is what we need to win. And then they drafted Manungai, 6th-round bruiser out of Rutgers, kind of like Isaiah Pacheco. Pacheco was a bruiser who Kansas City got. That guy just runs angry, And to me, Manungai, that guy runs angry. I really like. The more I see Manungai play, the more I really like him. He's really come through
Strong.
his goal. And
Well,
just to sum up on last thing on D Nice's Carolina comment, Carolina beat Green Bay on the road in Lambeau. They rushed for over 130 yards.
Yep.
Okay. And now just beating the Rams, I mean, that's big time. So
Big time.
Carolina, he nailed it on that. But Carolina ran the ball to beat Green Bay. The Bears need to do it too.
Yes, sir.
Carolina's been a sleeper several times this year, and I cannot like so initially when I looked at that trade, I was just like, but now I look more at that team that's growing. They look pretty solid, especially where they're at. Like I think they could be like sleepy good. And I'm not sure, it's definitely gonna next year look out. If they keep growing like they are, they're gonna be a problem, especially with other teams that are taking the backseat. But I want to touch a little bit upon what Jim, because he just dissected a lot there, and there's a lot to unpack. A lot of people. But hold on a second. Before I do that, Cream is in the building, man. Your old janitor from freaking Hallis Hall. And he is on XApp, and this guy is a monster on XApp. And he says the heat is up going into Green Bay Sunday. This is going to be a test, but I think our guys will be ready. Cream. So, yeah, that's his
Tell,
nugget of
tell
the
him to
day.
get the mop and bucket ready. Come on, bro. Get the mop and bucket ready. We're going to sweep some things this year.
Let's go. Let's go. Now, I will say this, there's a lot to sweep and clean up with what you just said, Jim, because I like all of it. And here's the deal. So much going on. You throw the Aussie Trapilo at us, you throw the Canadian Eagle, all these sort of things. What is it that you think that you could throw the kitchen sink at this team and it not waver? They find ways to win even when the defense, the offense doesn't show up, sometimes the special teams. How are they finding ways to win? They had 5 wins in a row in November. It's been forever since that happened. What's going on, man?
Well, just in my experiences, I liked about a month ago when Ben kind of called out the team. You know, early in the year, like go back to even Minnesota week one, they have all those penalties, and then they come back and beat Minnesota on the road, you know, and everything's cleaned up. All the reasons why they lost Minnesota week one, they fixed all those problems. You know, the penalties were down, they were a more disciplined team. They don't turn over the football, all the things that you want to do to in order to give yourself the best chance to win, they're doing now. You know,
Mm,
they're a much tighter ship on offense with how they function. I think Caleb, you know, I know he doesn't have a high completion percentage. Just in my experiences at playing the position, he is now in command. He's taking charge. How he handles situations is beautiful. You can just see him growing leaps and bounds. Like it was 4 weeks ago, he had a they're in field goal territory, and he takes a terrible intentional grounding play. You know, he gets a penalty where he
Mhm.
shouldn't have done it, and then this, like when you watch him play now, you can see he's aware. Once he's in field goal range, hey man, I'm not getting sacked. I'm not going to get a penalty. We're going to make sure we come out of here with points. And he's thinking the game now. You can just see, and you can just see the confidence in him too. You know, earlier in the year, he almost, when the camera would flash to him on the sideline, he looked flushed after a bad play. And
Mhm.
then I watched him play the Steelers where he gets a sack strip fumble in his own end zone, and he got up and said, "No big deal, no big deal. That play's behind us. We're just on to the next play." In the next series, they went right down the field and scored. It didn't affect him one way or the other. And to me, that's just growth of a quarterback. It's more maturity. He's staying in the now of what he needs to do every single play, because you just got to be, that's how you got to approach a game. Just get locked and loaded, stay in the now. The only thing that matters is now, this play that I'm executing right now. And he's doing that right now. And like I said, his yardage throwing and his passing completion, I'm telling you, it's all going to come. He is so close to really putting this all together. And it's fun to see. It really is.
Yes, indeed. And it's a lot to be said about the perseverance of this team, man. The
Yeah.
first 2 weeks, you couldn't have lost 2 games as worse as we did the first 2 weeks. And that within itself could have crumbled this season if these guys wasn't built the right way.
Yeah.
And that says a lot again, goes back to the coaching staff and the way he's transparent with these guys and the confidence that he breathes into these fellas. Another thing, trust. Everything's new as far as the offense and the defense. Everything is new, and when everything is new, people are unsure of their roles, are unsure how it's going to translate. And the guy next to you, you think you know what he can do, but you're not for sure. It takes a few weeks to build trust and continuity on both ends of the ball. The trust factor between quarterback and receiver, because we got some young fellas, we got some young weapons at tight end and receiver. That's another thing, and that were out. Guys were out of the lineup, in and out of the lineup because of injuries. But the trust factor and the stick to itiveness of this team, I think, is really the foundation of it.
I think that so too. I will say this though. There comes a time in every man's life where somebody comes through and they speak that language that helps you lock in. That you hear something and you just want to punch through the ceiling, and nobody can freaking understand or know who put a hole in that ceiling because they're so focused on that guy that is speaking right then, that has his shirt off, for the first time in the history of ever, to feed a city that's hungry. And we found out today that Roma Dunze was the guy that did that. And I looked back at the video and I said, D Nice, I said, nobody, even if they could tell on their teammate, they their eyes were fixed on freaking their coach that had their shirt off. That was all kind of crazy. I mean, those guys will run through a wall like the freaking Kool-Aid man, you know? And nobody knew. Nobody knew. They honestly did not know who punched through the ceiling. And today it finally came out. And I'm like, my God, it was Roma Dunze. And that guy, if you go look back, he probably has like a 40, 50-inch freaking vertical or something crazy, you know? So that's where we probably should have started, you know? But
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Like they love that guy, man. And Jim's right. Jim's right. They love that guy. They're
Well,
buying all in,
because
and
they see it. They see because what happens, like D Nice is talking about trust. So they go back. Imagine week 1 and week 2 where they start off the season 0-2,
yeah,
and the coach that next day you go into the facility and you're all in the auditorium as a team. And if I were Ben Johnson, I would watch that whole game as a team, and he's just sitting here with the red pointer. We got to clean this up. This can't happen. See this, and he'll circle a guy. Don't be the guy that makes this penalty in this situation. And he's calling out every one of those mistakes and says, these are what cost us this game. Because they had the lead, right? Think of that week 1.
yeah,
Minnesota, they had them beat. Minnesota came back in the fourth quarter and beat the Bears, and he's pointing out, this cost us the game.
this
This here
guy's
cost
gold.
us the game. This cost us the game. And the next week, the same thing happened. Guys start to take it critically. All right. It's critical coaching where you're honest. You're not in there trying to, embarrass anybody. You're professionally saying, us as a unit, as a team, if we want to win, this is what we've got to do. And I, as your coach, if you cannot make these corrections, I will find somebody else who will do what I'm asking them to do, and that's the reality of it. And then all of a sudden, those mistakes are getting corrected
Yeah.
and they start winning. And the players now feel that they're getting better. Wow, hey, say Al Harris tells Nashawn Wright, hey, man, the next time you see this route, play it this way in this coverage. And I guarantee you, maybe you're going to get an interception. You'll be in a better spot to get an opportunity for an interception. And then Nashawn Wright does that and he gets a pick. And you as a player, it's empowering because you're like, hey, man, I'm getting better. I'm getting better as a player. I trust my coach. Players will listen to anybody. I mean, you could have, I mean that seriously. If
Now I
you
know that's why I'm laughing. You're
Yeah,
absolutely
if
right.
you're coached by somebody, like I've been coached, some of my best coaches have never played pro football. They played, high school and college, but
Hmm.
they never played pro football. But, I would be coached by them. I'm like, man, this coach has made me better. And I get excited. I want to go in that building the next day and, man, how much better am I going to get today?
Hmm.
You
But
know,
Jim,
and
let me
they're
ask
all
you a
doing it
question.
though. The whole team's doing it and they're winning. So the coach's message is being solidified with wins, you know? So how can you not believe, what he's telling us is true, And they buy in, as D Nice said. And they
Yeah.
should. They should be drinking from that river of water. And I'd be
Right.
gulping at this point. I'd be gulping for more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a very human thing. Um, I can't see what you say. Well, I can't hear what you say if I'm seeing what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meaning that, you can talk to the cows come home, but if it ain't garnering results, I can't hear it.
Yeah.
So, and that's a lot of what's going on too. So here's
But
a lot of
here's the
factors
other
that
thing. Here's the thing I want to ask you guys, and I'm going to ask Jim because, again, we'll refer to the locker room. You look at a guy like Ben Johnson, who is a lot more vocal than I thought he ever was. I'm just going to say Detroit. I had no idea. Obviously, there's a reason why. And Dennis, he was the voice there. But and you look at a guy like Antoine Randall. Those are the two voices that we see. Da, we don't see a whole lot. There's another guy,
Yeah.
a running back coach, Bieniemy, and look at what that running has done right now. Those two guys arguably, MVPs of the last game that we had. 280 plus yards, touchdown each. First time in the history since 1985, 40 years that's never happened. And against Super Bowl champions, former Super Bowl champions, okay, Philadelphia Eagles, out away. There was a whole lot to unpack there, Jim.
Yeah.
But there's guys
Well,
that are doing things like your boy Dan Rushhour,
yeah.
from Michigan State, offensive line coach, whatever. What are these guys doing that are
Yeah.
like still under the radar? Like, what are they doing? Because there's a lot
Yeah.
going on. There's a lot of
Well,
moving pieces.
yeah. One, he's got a really good staff. Like from Dan Rochar, I brought up Al Harris. You mentioned Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah,
I will say this: those are all hard coaches. Like they coach hard, and I don't
yeah.
mean what I mean by coaching hard is they want it done a certain way, and they're going to be very demanding of you. And
Mhm.
I think when you challenge highly competitive individuals, which all these guys are, I mean, people forget like the if you were to look up a roster of pro football, like even on the Bears, I guarantee you guys were all state in more than one sport. Like, you got track guys, they were all state or baseball and football or basketball. So they're highly competitive guys, right? And if you challenge highly competitive guys, they're going to respond and you coach them hard. And I say this, and I'm going to say this story. I don't mean to offend anybody. Like Ben Johnson's mentor, John Shoup, he was my offensive coordinator in Chicago.
Mhm.
And John Shoup, he would just be really because he knew I would respond to that type of coaching. Like when he challenged me, or I'd say like he'd have a coaching point, and I'd say maybe I didn't have a buy-in on it, and I'd challenge him on it and say, hey man, that's unrealistic. That's an unrealistic coaching point for me to do, you know. And I'll never forget this. He looked at me right in the face and said, Jim, I don't want to hear about the labor pains. Just deliver the baby. You know,
There you
I'm
go.
serious. That's what he
Yeah,
said to me. And
yeah.
he goes, just try it this way. And it worked. And, but he did it for a point. Like nobody wants to hear you bitch and moan.
No,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this is a results
get to
oriented
it.
business where you got to deliver. You've got
Yeah.
to deliver, and nobody wants to hear about the crying or what you've had to go through and all that stuff. You've got a job to do, and this is how it's got to be done. And so, and I think Ben has done that. He did that, like I said, a month ago, where he said, "Hey, we practice crappy. We're sloppy in our practice, and that's exactly how it looks on game day." And he was challenging the whole team. You practice, you play like you practice, and you don't practice like a pro team. And this stuff better get cleaned up. And
That's hard.
they all took it, and they did it. They took it. A lot of guys would be like, "Screw this coach. I'm not
Yeah.
listening to this guy. What does he
Yeah.
know? He's
Yeah.
never
Well,
played." you know. But he challenged them, and they listened to him. And now that they started winning since then, this is a train that's going to keep on gaining steam, in my opinion. It
I
really
think
is.
the first two games were probably pretty difficult to listen to, especially when he started off when he was saying no phones and all that kind of stuff and developing the culture and everything that he was at. Like to buy in, and the first two games it was losses. After that, I think obviously it was easier because when you're winning, like it cures everything. You know what I mean? It takes
Yeah.
care of a lot of transgressions and but there's still like for Ben to stick to his conviction to say, we are gonna, and this is a transitional skill, whether it's a podcast, whether it's, aviation, whether it's a steel mill, wherever you're at, where you're at in your day. These are transitional skills where if you have a leader, it's very hard to carry that torch and go through all of that when you don't hear anything, you don't get any feedback, but you have to stand on it. You have to be that guy. And even then, after the first couple wins, they kind of still look at you with the deer in the headlights like, why has this guy got so much energy? And even to this day, there might be like, why does he got his shirt off? Why does he care about feeding people with hot dogs? But
Mhm.
through all that, like you still got that dude that has been. I mean, when have you seen this, Jim? When have you seen this in Chicago? When was the last time, brother?
Well, yeah, for us it was in 2001. Nobody expected anything from that team.
Yeah,
Nobody did,
Mhm.
going
yeah.
into that season. And we knew we were a good team, but we had to kind of like this team. We had to clean some things up. We had to do some things better, but we believed in ourselves how good we were going to be and that we could compete with anybody. And we started winning and we knew at that point like, hey, there's no turning back. We all the buy-in was there with Dick Duran, and we
Mhm.
knew we trusted each other, as D Nice said, as teammate to teammate. That was just a good, hardworking team where we really enjoyed just being around each other. We enjoyed showing up for work and playing for one another. Like you did not want to be the guy to let down your fellow
Yeah.
teammate. And I think that's where these guys are at right now. They're just so tight as a team right now because it's going to take all of them, and they understand that they're a team. And I think Benz is still challenging them this week.
Mhm.
His comment about we're winning despite our lack of our passing game.
Yeah.
But that's even I guarantee you, Caleb took that to heart. The
Yeah.
receivers took that to heart because
Mhm.
they know that they have to perform better in that area, and they're going to do it. He's put that out there, and those guys will respond. That's why I say the best is yet to come, in my opinion, from what they're going to do offensively.
And
And here's
Jim, there's guys right now that are like looking at this and still looking for the Chicago Bears to make an excuse for in the evening on Sunday in Green
Well,
Bay, whether it be cold, frozen tundra, on the road, whatever, that we're going to take the L, that certain peoples aren't playing and whatever. And they still don't understand that we're not looking for excuses. We're not talking about excuses because
yeah.
the next man up is for real. And D Nice,
Well,
you're in, you're blue collar where you work. Let's talk a little bit about how this resonates with you and how you feel when it's time to like, roll up your sleeves and get down and get dirty. Like how cool is it to see like this happen right now and how much it resonates for not just you but everybody globally? Like I really feel like at the end of all this Chicago could pick up a lot of fanfare because of how we're doing it and the way we're doing it. You know what I'm saying, D Nice? Like a lot of people are going through them tough times and they're like, bro, this is how it gets done. Like
yeah.
you have to like grind. You know what I'm saying? Like this is big, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's like I said before, it speaks to the perseverance of this football team. And not only that, you know, there's been a lot of smut on the Chicago Bears name
Oh,
over the past few years. And like Jim, to reiterate what Jim said, professional athletes are prideful people, man. They're proud, they are a prideful group of guys. And they may say that they don't read or they don't listen. They're
oh yeah.
lying. They're
It's true.
absolutely lying. They're reading, they're listening. They have family. If they're not reading and listening, they got family members leaving text messages, calling them on the phone, letting them know what's being said. And again, with all the smut that's been put on the Chicago Bears organization throughout these last few years, guys are willing and ready to respond to show these people not only the national media pundits but the local ones because the local ones slam harder than the guys on the outside.
but
So when you
all the slamming has been happening for years. Why
this
is
is
this
what I'm
any different?
saying. This is what I'm saying. But what makes it different is that There's a guy that was hired this season that told these guys to believe, that showed them that came with results. He didn't
Mhm.
come empty-handed with a pocket full of dreams. He came with results.
And you know who I wanted? You know who I wanted? I wanted Carroll, right? I said Pete
Absolutely.
Carroll's my guy. USC, woo woo. Fight on. Let's get a guy that's been proven, battle tested, all this and that. I talked to Jim. I said, man, he goes, I feel good about it. And then we went with the first round draft pick. We went with Ben Johnson, the guy that's going to be here for a very long time and is not, looking at his will. And
Yeah.
I love Pete Carroll, but this guy, like, honestly, usually you would feel like a certain vibe, like the Bears are trying to get off and do a cheap deal when they get a younger guy that's not proven, woo woo, whatever. This feels different. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like, there's something different going on this year, D Nice. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And really, it all comes down to keeping the main thing, bro.
Yes.
Regardless of what's being said out here, they're gonna say what they want. You use that as fuel to
Yes.
fit to, you know what I'm saying, to handle business with the main thing. And that's very important, man. All the outside stuff doesn't matter. You focus on who's in house with you. You focus on the guy next to you. You focus on your leaders throughout this organization. You trust in that, and you just keep the main thing the
Well,
main thing.
speaking on the main thing, and that's Jim Miller. And when I talked to him about the main thing in Detroit Lions, he said one thing. I said, Ben Johnson's gone. I don't know about this Aaron Glenn because I think we got the right coordinator as far as a head coach so far. I mean, it looks one sided, but hey, it's still, he hasn't been fired yet. So we'll see. We'll give him a chance, right, Jim? But Ben Johnson is our head coach. He looks really good. He is, I mean, everything looks good. Everything is all up north. But he said Johnny Morton on his show, he says that guy knows his football. And there's not going to be a big drop off because the main guy is still the main guy. The main thing is still the main thing that you're saying, D Nice, and that's Dan Campbell. And hey, there's a statement that they just made against the Cowboys. They
Yeah,
they're not going away. We want them to
yeah,
go away, but the Detroit Lions are still there, Jim.
yeah. Well, everybody can say that there wasn't a drop off. Obviously, Dan Campbell's calling the plays. So there was a drop off because he took over play calling. Okay. So the Bears got it right because by choosing Ben Johnson, they had to support Caleb Williams. In order, the Bears haven't scored over 18 points a game the last 5 years until Ben Johnson got here. Now they're in the mid to high 20s each and every game. So it was important to get a coach who was gonna bring along Caleb the right way, because
Yeah,
this is if you get your first round draft pick quarterback wrong, it literally will set back your franchise 5 years. It
yeah,
literally will. And Bears fans know too much. They know about it.
Yeah.
Cade McNown,
Mm.
Rex Grossman. I mean, look at Mitch Trubisky. And obviously the latest one. When you look at, he's not even starting now up there for the New York Jets. And
Mm.
I like Justin Fields, but Justin Fields, he was not brought along the right way. And that you can
you
have a
love
lot of
Dart
failure,
though. You
huh?
love Dart though. I couldn't figure it out when you said Dart was the guy. I did not. Hey, dude, that guy.
Yeah,
Especially, I'm telling you right now, I was there with my daughter for my birthday Bears bash. We sat there, we froze our tuchus off. Faith, I'm sorry. We probably should have went to the game after, but your dad's a knucklehead, and that's why when I took you to Six Flags, it was always raining, and I'm just a hot mess when it comes to freaking planning stuff, especially that Giants game. But listen, that guy, if he doesn't get injured and go out and they put Russell Wilson in, the Giants might have won that
yeah,
game.
I
I'm
agree
just
with that.
saying.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. But
Jackson
you
Dart
know,
is a freaking baller. And to think
yeah,
of all of that, and my boy, I wanted him to be our running back. I like who we've got in Monangai, but dude,
yeah,
Arizona State, that guy, freaking the running back, when he
yeah.
that foot injury, I like that running back still. I think
But
Scatabo.
think,
You
yeah,
know?
Scatterbo is going to be a good player, but think about Jackson Dart right now.
Yeah.
He's going to have a new coach next year. He's going to have a new offense that he's going to have to learn. It's Mike Kafka is not going to be coaching that team.
No.
So, is that going to stunt his growth? The Giants need to think about their quarterback because
Yeah.
they traded up in the first round. So they need to bring somebody in to support him, like what the Bears just did with Caleb Williams. You know,
Yep.
the reality is too. I mean, this is such a feel good story that yeah, they're the number one seed in the NFC and they're winning these games and right now they're atop of the division. But the reality is this: is Ben Johnson has that team grounded. Like, hey, you have not won anything yet, and the
Mhm.
reality is they haven't. They haven't won anything. They got to go up there to Green Bay
I
and they've
love
got
that.
to earn it. You got to this number one seed. Now you have the opportunity to stay on top of the mountain here. And you got to take care of business because they haven't won anything until week 17 says that they have.
I love that. I love that, Jim. Now, D Nice, let me ask you a question. We got a
Mhm.
round robin. We got to close it out, man. We're at 41. Okay. Everybody, thank you. Hit that like, subscribe button. And I will tell you, uh, up like Trump 24. Hit me on Instagram or XApp Chicago Sports Podcast. You just won a free jersey of your choice, man. Thank you for being a first time listener, watcher. If you were here before, just ignore what I said because I never seen you before. Pretend like you knew because you got a jersey and just run with it, baby. Run with it, okay? Speaking of which, Jim, when we do our next show, somebody wants to get that Steeler jersey signed by you because they're a diehard Steeler fan and they love you, bro.
Okay.
D Nice, here's the deal. I want to ask you a question, man. Give me a prediction round robin really quick before we close out, man. I got 2% battery on my phone. Let's go. What do you got?
27-17. I think the important
Oh, that's
weapon.
my score. 27-17. I
Yeah,
sent that to freaking I sent that to Santos earlier. I said you're gonna kick 2 field goals and three
yeah,
extra points. You're gonna win the day.
yeah. I think the injuries for that Green Bay has is kind of will force them to be a little bit more one dimensional than they really want to. You know,
Yep.
because they lost three key guys,
Yep.
two receivers, and arguably the best tight end in the league right now in Tucker
Oh,
Craft.
Jim knows how I feel about
You
Kraft. I
know,
gush
Yeah.
when I say, but now we got a guy in Colson Love, and I think he's better.
so right now they're really depending on Josh Jacobs to really carry them through, and he's injured.
All right.
So I think that's going to really hurt Green Bay, and with the
Yeah,
way
he's
the
got a
defense
bruised
is
knee.
playing, the way
Yep.
the defense, but it's very important for the Bears to not fall behind too far.
I
You know what
agree.
I mean?
Jim?
Because if we have this run game is only going to be effective if we can chew clock, chew time, chew time possession, and really get the ball in the end zone instead of kicking field goals.
Yeah. Jim, how do you feel, man? What's your prediction,
Yeah.
brother?
Well, I like that, but running the football, and I'm with D Nice. Do not let Green Bay play with a lead. If it's like 14-3 or something like, because they want to start fast and play with the lead because they can crank up their pass rushers. The key is to pound them. Pound them, pound them, pound them. That's what Carolina did. That's why I brought up Carolina. They rushed for 130. They had no problem going up to Green Bay, the frozen tundra, whatever, and said, "All right, let's play some big boy ball here.
Mhm.
Let's put the pads on. We're not going to allow your finesse pass rushers like Micah Parsons. Micah is a great pass rusher. We know that. But I'm telling you, you run the ball at him, that dude is mortal. He does not like, setting the edge and doing those things. And so I think the Bears really got to have a heavy run game, which will churn the clock and will keep the score down. And it'll be like a mid 20s game, like you're saying 23-17, 20, 27-20, something like that is what it needs to be.
I agree, and I'll tell you what, this guy's given us a lot of fuel to stoke that fire, man. This Green Bay, Micah Parsons, he says, you know how to earn someone's respect is to beat the shit out of. Dude, I'm telling you right now, we're gonna beat the brakes off of you, okay, pal, Pally Wally. I don't care. We're coming all guns blazing. We're coming after you, pal. You gave us the energy that we need, okay? Kid spelled backwards. I'm telling you, we're coming after you. I'm
And
telling you.
I want to say something real quick. Um, Traction crazy, but man, look, it's gonna be very important because Green Bay. Everybody knows what the Bears like to do now. So now we're forcing these teams to focus on our strength. And just because running is our strength, it doesn't mean that we cannot throw the football. There's going to be opportunities in the play action game for Caleb Williams to have big plays against this defense. Though I love the safeties for Green Bay a lot, but there are going to be holes open for these tight ends to get big gains and for the deep shot this week because Green Bay, they know that they're deficient on the running game. They know that they're deficient that way. So they're going to commit a lot more to it than they normally would in a normal week because of what happened to them in the past and what Chicago brings to them on Sunday.
Did we lose our man? I agree with you.
I think we
I
did.
agree with you, man.
I think we
They're
did.
they should. This is where because the division's going to be on the line. This is
Mm-hmm.
where it becomes even more important that everything's hitting on all cylinders because the margin for victory is going to be smaller and the Bears are playing their best football after Thanksgiving. I'm with you. I think those big plays are coming in the past game. That's the last piece of the puzzle that they need to put together, and they're getting there. So
Yeah, because honestly, we're going to force Green Bay to choose how they want to
yeah.
win, how they want to think they want, how they think they're going to win. So sorry we lost tracks, but Jim, we ain't gonna hold you too much longer. It's been real, buddy. Thank you, and it's always good to be on the show with you and tracks wherever he is. But before we get out of here, you got any nice words for the people? You got any shout outs?
Well, I mean, it's this is it's why it's one of the most storied rivalries in football. I think when you play on certain teams, like I played for the Steelers, I know that Steelers Baltimore Ravens rivalry. That's always a
Mm-hmm.
hard hitting affair. And then when I got to the Bears and got to appreciate this rivalry, when you play in it, you understand it and it has meaning to you. Caleb's already played in it. Him and Jordan Love,
Mm-hmm.
this will be their third time facing each other. So this is kind of a
Mm-hmm.
grudge match game, this one. So you got a quarterback that knows it, he's experienced it, and I think he's looking forward to it. I know I would, and I think this will be Caleb's best game, personally. I really do. Yeah.
Nice. Nice, nice. I'm with you. I'm with you, and I surely hope you're correct. Shout out to everybody for rocking with us tonight. Shout out to the chat. Thank you guys. You guys had it buzzing. And I'm gonna get with tracks and make sure you guys get those jerseys. Peace to everybody. Everybody have a good Friday night. If you're going out, be safe, stay warm, and look out for one another. With that being said, peace up, bear down.